The chubby guy was eating in the restaurant while his colleagues openly discussed his weight. He thought staying silent would help him avoid the situation, but a colleague suddenly removed his headphones and loudly questioned him. The chubby guy ignored him and was about to leave, but his colleague threw the headphones at him. Even then, the chubby guy didn't fight back. He quietly picked up the headphones and left the room. Unexpectedly, the colleague still wouldn't give up. Maybe because of being overweight and sweating easily, there was a smell. The colleague then mockingly asked. The colleagues burst into laughter again. The chubby guy wanted to get up and leave, but they forcibly pinned him down and dragged him to the bathroom. Even at this point, he didn't resist, lying on the ground helplessly like a humble ant. 40-year-old Foss is an ordinary ground staff at the airport. He is honest and diligent in his work. However, in this era where appearance is everything, it seems that overweight and bald people don't deserve to exist. Foss has long been accustomed to his colleagues' mockery. Even when his superiors show concern, he calmly responds, "I thought it was just a joke." The external gossip and his own body weight feel like invisible hands pushing him to the edge of the world, making him extremely self-conscious. Whether at work, off work, or going out, he is always alone and still lives with his mother. However, his divorced mother is indifferent to him and casually brings her new boyfriend home. Despite being deeply lonely, he has his own way of life. Every Friday, Fox goes to the same restaurant and orders the same Thai fried rice. Each time he visits, the owner habitually removes the tableware from the opposite seat because no one ever wants to dine with him. After dinner, it was already late at night. Foss drove to the seaside, requested his favorite rock song on the radio, and spent a peaceful night gazing at the vast night sky. Besides this, Fox's biggest hobby is playing with toy sand tables on the battlefield. His only friend is someone he met through this unique hobby. That day, Fox impulsively bought a remote-controlled off-road car from the supermarket and brought it home. As he approached his doorstep, he suddenly encountered a newly moved-in single father and his daughter, Sarah, in the hallway. The little girl curiously asked who the toy car was for. Perhaps afraid of embarrassment, Fox didn't want to reveal his true intention and stood there stammering, unable to say a word. When he got home, Fox happened to catch his mother and her new boyfriend in an intimate moment. He pretended not to see anything, quickly shut the door, and went downstairs to play with his newly bought toy car. The sudden blizzard constantly pricked at every nerve of Foss. When he returned home again, the mother and her new boyfriend have just finished an intimate moment, but Fox finds that the sandbox he painstakingly set up has been completely messed up by the man. Fox is understandably upset, but the man, Rolf, tells him that instead of being obsessed with these virtual things, he should spend more time dealing with the battles in real life. Foss remained silent. He too wished to face life like a normal person, but his bloated body was like a heavy lock, trapping him in a virtual world, barely surviving. That afternoon, Fox met Sarah again in the hallway. Sarah had forgotten her keys and was locked out, so Fox invited her in and offered her some bread and milk. But when Sarah's father found her, instead of showing gratitude to Fox, he looked at him with resentment and hatred, as if a pervert lived inside his skin. Foss blamed himself for everything, sometimes even thinking he was the pervert people talked about. But Rolf and his mother didn't think so. On Fox's birthday, Rolf gave him a hat and a dance class voucher. Both he and his mother hoped Fox could step out of his loneliness and have a social life of his own. However, the solitary Faust was reluctant to go. He feared facing those strange looks again. But Rolf kindly encouraged him, saying, "Trying won't kill you. At least you'll know what you're giving up." His mother agreed, adding that the class cost Rolf a lot of money, so he should at least attend once. With a mix of ambition and unease, Foss walked into the dance classroom. While the other students were freely exchanging ideas and learning from each other, the burly Foss stood in the corner, feeling completely out of place. To avoid becoming a laughingstock, he only stayed for a moment before hurrying back to the car. At that moment, heavy snow began to fall, each flake feeling as heavy as a mountain, making it hard for Foss to breathe. To avoid his mother finding out he skipped class, he stayed alone in the car until school was over. As the blizzard intensified, a woman named Xiofan stopped by Foss's window, asking if he could give her a ride. Kind-hearted Foss didn't speak or refuse, but his silent demeanor made Xiofan mistakenly think he was a creepy voyeur. Hearing this, Fox quickly explained that he was just a student forced by his mother to attend dance classes. After clearing up the misunderstanding, Xiofan advised him to give it a try next week, saying the class wasn't as bad as he thought. Soon after, the car arrived at Xiufan's doorstep. Watching the woman walk away, Foss couldn't help but feel a ripple in his heart. It was his first close encounter with a woman, and the first time he felt this way. But after that night, Fox returned to his humiliating reality. His colleagues not only shamelessly mocked him for not having bathed, but they also dragged him into the bathroom and turned on the faucet to bathe him themselves. Even so, Fox did not resist and let the cold water splash on him. After finally regaining his composure and returning home, Sarah suddenly knocked on Fox's door. Since she just moved here, the only person she knows is Fox, so she wants to play with him. Fox takes the girl to an untidy room, but as soon as she sits down, she suddenly asks some fatal questions. Why don't you have a girlfriend? Why does my dad think you're a weirdo? Fox, like a numb robot, keeps repeating the word no. But the girl's next sentence, I don't think you're weird, feels like a warm current slowly flowing through Fox's heart. In the blink of an eye, it's time for dance class again. The brief encounter with that woman last time, her touch and encouragement, still lingers in Fox's mind. He no longer resists. Instead, he puts on a suit and heads to the classroom to meet Shufin. But when it was time for class, his heavy body just wouldn't cooperate. As a result, Foss was harshly criticized by the teacher. However, Shufin quietly offered him kindness and encouragement. After class, Foss took Shufin to a restaurant he often visited. The owner was delighted to see Foss bring a female companion for the first time. He specially prepared a dessert for them, wishing Foss to end his single life soon. After dinner, Foss took Shufin to their usual seaside spot. Knowing she loves pop music, Foss called the radio station to request a romantic song for her. When the host first heard that Foss was dedicating a song to a girl, he jokingly asked, "How far have you two gotten? First base, second base, or third base?" Foss was embarrassed and didn't know how to respond. The host quickly understood and played the song, Island in the Stream, for them. The conversation between the two had already been transmitted to Shufin's ears through the car's player. She wasn't angry. Instead, she was amused by Fusey's honest and simple demeanor. As the song began, the romantic melody warmed Fusey's once desolate heart, planting a seed of love within him. After returning from the seaside, Shufin wanted to invite Fusey upstairs for a cup of tea. However, her intentions were not just about tea. But Fusey, being a completely oblivious man, didn't catch her hint at all. Shufin had to get out of the car, feeling both awkward and disappointed. After driving a short distance, Fusey suddenly realized what she meant. He immediately turned the car around and went back to Shufin's house. Although Shufin was a bit surprised, she still invited Fusey into her home. Under the dim light, they got to know each other. Fox learned that Shufin worked at a flower shop, loved the fragrant aroma of flowers, and enjoyed traveling abroad. Shufin, in turn, found out that Fox worked at the airport. She had a sudden idea and asked Fox to take her to the airport's transit area, where she could experience the people and events that happened before a trip. During their conversation, every word from Shufin revealed her longing for freedom and hope. On the other hand, Fox, with his bulky physique, seemed to have no hope, but Shufin's appearance brought a glimmer of hope to his otherwise dull life. That night, nothing happened between them. Fox left the warm, moonlit night, filled with the scent of flowers. Shufin became the first ray of sunshine in his life. Although the world remains as chaotic and confusing as ever, Foss no longer gives in to despair. Instead, he embraces the ups and downs of life. He even helps a colleague check their car when it breaks down, putting aside any past grievances. Foss's actions made his colleague feel guilty. He not only apologized for what happened in the bathroom last time, but also invited him to a party he is hosting next Saturday. Foss visited his friend and talked about his experience at Shufin's house. His friend bluntly said that Foss was hopeless. If a woman invites you to her house for tea late at night, her intentions are quite clear. Your friend said all this just to tell you, Fox, that if someone likes you, you must learn to be brave and go for it. So, the next day, Fox went to a travel agency and specifically chose sunny Egypt. He planned to invite Shufin on a trip. He went to the flower shop where Shufin worked, hoping to surprise her, but the owner told him she no longer worked there. Fox then went to Shufin's home. He saw Shufin getting off a garbage truck, looking embarrassed. This scene reminded Fusey of his past self. He hesitantly rang the doorbell, but Shufin angrily questioned why he was there and slammed the door shut. Every word and action of Shufin showed her disdain for this humble job. But Fusey tenderly told Shufin, "I don't care what job you do because it doesn't matter to me at all." Hearing this, Shufin finally calmed down. The two sat on the sofa inside the house. Foss took out the brochure for the Egypt trip, but Shufin questioned him again, asking why he invited her to travel to Egypt. After speaking, she gave Foss a nice guy card, saying, "I think you're a good man, but that's all." This sentence, like that bone-chilling blizzard, once again shrouded Fox's heart in heavy fog just as he first saw the sunlight. He attended a colleague's party with sadness and helplessness, downing a strong drink that burned his heart. Just as he was about to get drunk, a colleague suddenly hired a dancer to help Fox with his awkward first time. While the colleague meant well, Fox felt every move the woman made was mocking his failed life. Past misfortunes flooded his mind, and Fox finally snapped. He easily pinned his colleague to the ground, and then fled in a panic. Deeply affected, Fox didn't go to work at the airport the next day. Instead, he decided to go out alone to clear his mind. This scene was witnessed by Sarah, who was playing downstairs. She wanted to go with Fox. Fox didn't refuse. He took Sarah to that quiet seaside. When the night's strong liquor couldn't fill the lonely soul, and the day's hard work couldn't numb the wounded heart, The mountain and the endless blue sky and white clouds seem to embrace all the hardships Fox has gone through. But Sarah finds this place too boring and doesn't understand what Fox has experienced. Helplessly, Fox has to take Sarah back home. But what awaited him was a police car at the door, and the girl's father hurling accusations and insults without understanding the situation. It turned out he had called the police because he couldn't find his daughter. Based solely on his appearance, they accused Fox of an unforgivable crime. He was taken to the police station for questioning. Fortunately, Fox explained himself in time, and the police released him. But because of this incident, Fox was condemned by the entire community. No parent allowed their children to approach him, as if his existence was a complete mistake. Even Sarah was forced to stay away from Fox due to her father's warning. At this moment, perhaps only Xiaofin truly understands him. But in these unfortunate days, Fox hasn't seen Xiaofin for a long time. He put on the suit he wore when they first met and went to the dance studio. But no matter how hard he looked, he couldn't find her in the crowd. He then went to Xiaofin's house, but she hadn't left her room for days. Worried something might have happened to her, Fuzi broke in, only to be utterly shocked by what he saw. The place was a complete mess, and Xiaofin locked herself in the closet, letting depression torment every nerve. When Fuzi showed concern, she screamed at him to leave her alone. Fox didn't expect that while he was facing a series of misfortunes, there was another person in the world also suffering. Feeling compassion, he decided to accompany and take care of Xiaofin in his own way. He took a long leave from his superiors and came to Xiaofin's house to take care of her as much as he could. Every day, he would prepare fresh meals and bring them to Xiaofin. In his spare time, he would clean the room until it was spotless. To help Xiaofin keep his job, he even went to the junkyard to finish his daily tasks. Compared to his colleagues at the airport, the co-workers here were much friendlier. Not only did they not mock Fuzi's appearance, but they also invited him to watch a football game after work. This was the second time Fuzi felt kindness from strangers. He drank a lot with them like a group of close friends. But when he returned home that night, he found his mother heartbroken in bed. It turned out that Rolf had cruelly abandoned her. Their meeting seemed like a long overdue joke. To take care of his mother, Fox commuted between his mother and Xiaofin in the following days, while also managing his work at the junkyard. The monotonous routine made him inevitably weary. However, fortunately, under Fox's meticulous care, Xiaofin finally emerged from the dark closet. As the gloom gradually faded, the re-emerging sunlight seemed to illuminate the entire land. Xiaofin repainted the walls of her home. One day, she took Fuzi to an abandoned candy shop. She told Fuzi that her dream was to buy the place and open a cozy flower shop. However, many real-life issues remain unresolved, so this dream has to be put on hold for now. However, that night, as soon as Fox opened the door, Xiaofin excitedly rushed in, hugging and kissing him. This was something Fox had never imagined, but it was now happening to him. The next morning, sunlight filled the room through the curtains. Everything felt like a long, affectionate dream. Once the relationship was confirmed, Fox experienced the happiest time of his life. He would dance with Xiaofin in their dance classes and dine together at restaurants. Just as their love was deepening, Xiaofin suddenly suggested they move in together. Fox was surprised by the sudden news that he could move into his own home. However, considering his heartbroken mother at home, he didn't immediately agree. Xiaofin found it hard to believe. She had been on her own since she was 15, while Fox, at 40, still lived with his mother. After speaking, he stormed out. Watching his lover's departing figure, Fox's heart was instantly filled with turmoil. But whenever he recalls the moments spent with Xiaofin, who accompanied him through those long and difficult times, Fuzi ultimately comes back to her side. He decided to start a new life with her. On moving day, he confessed everything to his mother. After dismantling his favorite sandbox, he took the toys to Sarah's house. However, since the girl was out, it was her father who answered the door. Fox didn't say much. He handed over the toy and turned to leave. But just then, the man suddenly called out to him and apologized for his previous behavior. He had just divorced his ex-wife, and that period was the hardest time for him. Although Fox had long moved on from what happened, this belated apology still warmed his heart. Fox then called his friend and moved all his luggage into Xiaofin's house. Unexpectedly, Xiaofin's depression relapsed, and she harbored even more resentment towards Fox. She said, "Maybe I'm not ready to live with you yet." It turns out everything she did before was just the dependence and demands of a person with depression on those around her. It was the survival instinct of someone in their most desperate moments. Fox had no complaints about this. He simply gave Xiaofin a brief hug, then he and his friend moved the luggage back to the car. Shortly after, a blizzard began outside the window again. Fox is still single, but he always remembers the woman who mistakenly thought he was a peeping Tom and unexpectedly entered his life last winter. This left an indelible mark. Regardless of the outcome of this relationship, Fox always believed that helping others was also helping himself. If he hadn't given so much, he might still be a bald man abandoned by others. Later one night, Fox used most of his savings to buy the candy. He and his friend repainted it. They quietly placed the key in Xiaofin's mailbox. They didn't disturb each other, but every move Fox made hinted at his past presence. The next day, with his remaining savings, he boarded a flight to Egypt. There was no blizzard-like cold, only spring-like sunshine warming the heart. A smile blossomed on Foss's face. Though Shufin was not by his side, the traces of his lover's presence remained in his heart. He will carry this love and his innocence across every inch of Egypt. Virgin Mountain is a Danish drama film directed by Dager Carey, released in 2015. Everyone will face a storm, big or small, accompanied by life's pain and suffering, piercing each of our hearts. The misfortunes that befell Fox are not just isolated incidents. He serves as a mirror, reflecting our own struggles to survive in reality. Some have hidden themselves in a bulky shell, while others have locked themselves in a dark closet to escape reality. But after experiencing everything, we realize instead of avoiding and retreating in difficult situations, it's better to pursue new changes with unwavering faith. Even if the blizzard continues to mercilessly batter that fragile heart, when the sunlight bathes the earth, the snow and wind will melt away. Like a proud mountain standing tall, after enduring the storms, it continues on the hopeful path of